Hello and welcome back to the port. I'm the Gav Major, and this is a review of the British Tier 6 premium cruiser HMS Tiger, which has become available for 12,500 doubloons. Now this is a game of domination on Greece, and it's a Tier 5 in 6 game. Let's take a look at that shipping forecast. Enemy team: Icarus, Shirisatsuyu, Leander, Dallas, Pensacola, Fiji, California, California, California. So not a bad matchup, I guess you could say. So we'll see how this goes. So, HMS Tiger is a member of the three-strong Tiger class, which was commissioned for the Royal Navy between 1959 and 1961. Now, the class was the last all-gun cruiser design for the Royal Navy, and the hulls were laid down in 1941 to 42, but following their launch in 44 to 45, there wasn't really a requirement for them, and the design they originally built to wasn't really sufficient for the lessons learned during World War II. So the hulls kind of sat around not doing much for nearly a decade. It was only in 1954 did they actually come up with a redesign for the cruiser, and of course that then led to them obviously then entering into commission in 59 to 61. So, as we spawned on the centre left, I made a decision to come over to the left flank because we only had one cruiser over on the left flank, so I wanted to try and double up some of the damage output. And we're seeing there Shirisatsuyu that we want to be potentially taking advantage of. So we're just going to get a couple of rounds down range for that. Might see if we can close in for a bit of radar range. Anyway, so yes, in comparison to the tech tree Tier 6 cruisers, what are we looking at? Well, first of all, she has the fourth lowest base HP of 33,100. I'm going to have to focus the Shirisatsuyu, unfortunately. He's very kitey as well. There he goes. I think what we might do, we might push in and see if we can grab the cap. Anyway, so yes, fourth lowest base HP of 33,100, but you do have the highest HP pool of 59,540. That's basically with all those lovely repair parties. Torpedo reduction is the lowest torpedo reduction of only 4%. However, it's better than having none, and there are still cruisers at Tier 6 which do come with no torpedo reduction. So, welcome back to the port, and we're taking a look at the armour scheme of the Tiger. Starting off with the superstructure, it's very large and thinly plated. It's the typical usual superstructure that you get with cruisers, which means there is a very large part of the ship which is spammable to high explosives and small caliber AP. So obviously just bear in mind that's going to be one way that you can obviously take out a Tiger as well, just aim for that very large superstructure. Taking that away, let's move on to the bow and the stern. Nice and simple stuff. It's covered in 25mm plating all over. There is a bit of 40mm under the water. That doesn't really matter too much. So what this means is the bow and the stern is completely capable of angling, or with the bow you could bow tank as well, but with the stern obviously you can't because the transom stern, but you can kind of angle against 14-inch AP or lower, so that's quite survivable, really quite a strong trait for a ship of this tier, I guess you could say. Taking that away, what are we left with? Well, we got the upper armour. Now this is almost very similar to, say, the Surrey. We have a main armoured bow, mostly consisting of 25mm plating, which is capable of angling against 14-inch AP. And then you've also got a deck, which has a bit of a mix of armour, but mostly 27mm, which is capable of bouncing 15-inch shells, should that be necessary. A very interesting trait. Not one that I'd probably recommend relying on, is the best way to put it though. So yeah, a reasonable armour scheme. Again, mostly stay angled against 14-inch AP, and anything larger, you kind of want to be kiting or getting away from it as much as possible, and maybe you might get lucky if something skips off the deck. The turrets and the barbettes. Well, the turrets seem to be quite reasonably well plated, with up to 51mm plating, with the barbettes being down to about 25mm of plating. No real weak spots noted in the turrets, so again, they seem to be quite reasonable, and of course the barbettes go all the way down to the citadel. So, the citadel. Interestingly, unlike, say, other British cruisers where the citadel would poke up above the waterline, so normally we'd be quite used to seeing, when I turn it on, that stepped area of a slightly thicker 83mm armoured bout that sticks up. That would be included in the citadel. In Tiger, that's not the case. So again, that means there isn't this exposed part of the citadel up top. However, the citadel plating behind that armoured bout that is 83mm thick is a lot thinner. The ceiling of this citadel is only 30mm thick there, so that's worth noting. If obviously people can work a way around it, they might be able to find an easy way into the citadel without really having to try too hard. Citadel is long and is slightly above the waterline, I guess you could say, and there's no real special angling or anything, no turtle back on it, so yeah, interesting enough, going from the front turret all the way to the stern. The armour scheme of the Tiger seems to be reasonably surprising for a light cruiser, especially for tier 6. I'd say you'd almost probably expect to see maybe this armour scheme at tier 7 rather than tier 6. So for a tier 6 cruiser, it does seem to be quite a survivable armor scheme, but that might be just because she hasn't got the greatest damage output. Anyway, let's go back to the game and see how we're doing. When it comes to artillery, you've got 4 number 6-inch guns mounted in 2 dual gun turrets. You've got A turret at the front and B turret at the rear, and that is all. Now these do offer you the third shortest range of 14.7 kilometers, but really you wouldn't want your range to be any more than that because your shells are very, very floaty. Now you do have the fastest reload of 3.2 seconds, so trying to make up for that low count of guns, I guess you could say. Furthermore, she also has the fastest turret reverse speed of 4.7 seconds per 180 degrees of rotation. Well, stop here and grab the cap, I think. Oh, we even got a citadel on the Pensacola, quite nicely. Now, when it comes to the AP shell damage, it is the second lowest at 3,200, but it is really second lowest to Fiji, which is an interesting thing to point out. Furthermore, it's not all downhill, I guess you could say, even though you've only got 4 guns, because of the fast reload, you do have the highest AP DPM in comparison to the tech tree tier 6 cruisers. Obviously, there are some slight pay-to-win ships, I guess you could say, which obviously do have slightly higher DPMs. I think we're going to end up engaging this Fiji at very close range, but hopefully we can get the cap first. So this is obviously one of the downsides with the Tiger, in that she has no sonar and she has no torpedoes. Right, on to manoeuvrability. What are we looking at here? She has the second slowest top speed of 30.3 knots, and I'm going to try and avoid this island. I think we should be clear to do so. She also has the joint 5th fastest rudder shift of 8.9 seconds, and the joint smallest turn circle of 590 meters. This transom stern might hurt. Yeah. When it comes to more AP coming in, I'm going to struggle to look down on my notes. When it comes to concealment, she's the second best detectability by sea of 11 kilometers, 6.9 kilometers by air, and 5.4 kilometers when firing from smoke. very difficult to look down at my notes when I'm doing this. When it comes to the consumables, she has smoke screen, which is actually quite nice. And now this you have two number of, unless you have fully packed or some other traits. And this has a 15-second duration. That's how long it takes to lay a smoke screen. It has a 103-second dispersion. That's how long it sits around for, and a 240-second reload. Furthermore, she has two repair parties, and these are kind of like super repair parties, which is quite nice. These will heal 661 HP per second for 20 seconds. That means each repair party will grant you a total amount of 13,220 HP. The repair parties do have a 60-second repair time, and from the two repair parties that you get base, you will be able to recover a total of 26,440 HP. Now, you also get two number radar. This radar has a range of 8.5 kilometers and a duration of 25 seconds with a 180-second reload. Now, you can swap the radar out for a defensive AA fire consumable, which you'll also get two of, but that's not really worthwhile. I find the AA on the Tigers already reasonably good enough that you don't really need to do it. Modules and commander build wise is, as always, down in the description, but in regards to modules, I've taken AA guns and double steering gears. Obviously steering gears for that maneuverability. And that is my notes, so I can actually put down the notes and focus entirely on the game, as our smoke screen starts to run out. So now the game has my full undivided attention. We'll see what we can do. We have a lot of Californias closing in, but yes, with the Tiger, it would have been nice to be able to have sonar, even if say you had to trade out another consumable for it. Even if you say you had to trade out smoke to have it, I wouldn't mind that. Furthermore, lack of torpedoes, it can be quite harmful, I guess you could say. I would like to have some torpedoes, just that close in point defense. Gun wise, I do like the guns. The gun arrangement's a bit odd, and you do obviously, as you saw against the Fiji, have to get a little bit wide in order to make those engagements sometimes. And obviously your damage alpha is very, very low. It's very much death by 1,000 cuts when you're coming under fire from a Tiger. Oh, that's actually shells at us. But the armour scheme is quite nice, especially when you know you're up against a 14-inch gun battleship like the California. I think the auto-aim is not leading enough. That's the problem with it. There we go. Right, we can actually now turn in and re-engage. So, in general, is Tiger a great ship in the game? Well, she's certainly not paid to win, I'll give you that. She's no Weimar, and that's something to say. But I don't say she's a bad ship either. I think she's very much one of those ships where I think it's the player quality is what will shine through, mostly. She's very handicapped, but I think that makes her all the more fun. The reason being is, I kind of feel like if I can do well in Tiger, then I'm doing very well overall. She's almost like, as I've put it, she's almost like going into the boxing ring and tying one hand behind your back, and still winning sometimes, or most times I find. And if you can do that, I think is a good measure of your skill level in the community. And so I think she's almost like a very challenging ship because of that lack in DPM, but she's got reasonable survivability. I'd like to close in a little bit more before I pop the smoke screen. Yeah, the thing with Tiger, it's learning obviously to aim high on battleships and also leading the target, just because of those floaty shells at range sometimes. But also you have to work with that very quick reload, always having to zoom in and out. The reason being is obviously you want to keep awareness of this situation around you. You don't want to be tunnel visioned. I think that's going to be the California. There she goes. And I think that's going to be the game. But there you go. So we've managed to do 75,000 damage in a game where I'm mostly doing a review. Thankfully, I guess you could say maybe we're top tier, and the battleships in the enemy team were rather favourable for my situation considering the armour scheme. But we still have 2 repair parties, which is quite nice, and we still got 3 radar consumable. She's a very good utility cruiser, that's the best way to put it as well. She's really good at killing DDs, I found. The radar really helps, the short fuse AP really hurts. She likes potentially, like, the smoke allows her to get out of jail or to maybe lock down. She maybe prefers to be pushed into rather than having to chase. Yeah, we've already covered the lack of torpedoes, so in general, yeah, she's not a shining gem, but doesn't mean I don't like her. And all we have left on the enemy team is Leander. And there we go, that's the end of the game. So let's see. So what was that? 75,000 damage, 1 kill. I think we got a cap and a couple of defender ribbons, along with 204 hits on target and 3 citadels. Very nice. Coming second on the team, so I can't really complain really when you consider there's other cruisers on my team which had more guns and more capable guns, I guess you'd say. So I'm not going to complain about Tiger too much. Been consistently coming. I think my average at the moment is about 50,000 damage, and usually between second and third in Tiger. So I can't really complain if that's the kind of results I'm getting quite consistently. Obviously 75,000 damage, it's no record breaker. I've seen 130,000 damage in Tiger, believe it or not. Economy wise, walking away with a total profit of 319,000 credits with a common credit booster and a premium count. Obviously with a ship service card charge, which is reduced to 77,000 credits because it's a premium, and furthermore, obviously as a premium ship she will have a improved credit earning potential. Well, if you did enjoy this review, feel free to give it a thumbs up, and enjoy this kind of content, feel free to subscribe. And if you want to support the channel on Patreon, link to Patreon is down in the description, and also down in the description is the command build and the ship modules used during this review. And as this was a premium ship review, the Patreon's names will be appearing on the end screen. Until next time, I'm the Gareth Major, and back to the port.
Hey, hey, clear the way, here comes the galloping Major. Get out of the way there, you fellows, unless you want me to run you down. I guess this is the life